Hey, happy Thursday. Again with the Captain America comics. Look, you can learn about history by reading comics. See that guy right there? Thomas Jefferson, Jefferson Memorial. There's no wonder I'm so smart with all the comics I've read. All right, so here's what we're doing today. On Tuesday, you watched a video, hopefully, talked all about how to cap a document, thus the comic. Today, I want to take another look at the capping process, looking at body paragraph 3 of our practice DBQ, or the one that I'm working on about period 3 in the Revolutionary Era. But more specifically, I want to talk about how I incorporate evidence from the document into my body paragraph. And then lastly, I want to talk about the conclusion. Now, the conclusion is not necessary, but I want to demonstrate a little bit of what I would do if you find that you have a few minutes left over at the end to write a conclusion, what you might want to write. So let's jump right into it. I am so impressed with myself right now. Anyway, let's jump into the third body paragraph of our sample DBQ essay, the one that I'm writing about period 3 in the Revolutionary Era. As you remember from our earlier videos, the question is asking about the extent to which American ideas about independence changed through 1763 and 1783. And we're on to the third reason, my third body paragraph. And you'll see that it's labeled there in blue. You'll also see that this is the paragraph where I spend a lot of time looking at evidence from the document. That's our section in red here. So that's the whole point of our discussion today, is to take a closer look at that. So let's get through the first part of our document first to give another refresher on how this is going to go, and then we'll jump into that portion of the body paragraph. So I restate my reasoning here in blue by saying that the colonists in North America who felt abandoned by their British heritage and then pride over their victory in their war for independence finally achieved a sense of American identity in the years following the war. Now I have to support that with a little contextualization and explanation. That's what comes in orange. This newfound feeling of national identity encouraged them to create a government of their own, partially based on the Enlightenment thinking of the era, natural rights, and their grievances with Britain. The Americans continued to amend and alter their government throughout 1774 to 1783, demonstrating a continued dedication to the ideals of the Revolutionary period. Now here, as opposed to the other two body paragraphs, I take a significant jump in time to after the Revolution. So we kind of take a jump here. The documents that came before and our analysis before were pre-revolutionary period, the 1760s and early 1770s. This one jumps to after, sort of during the Revolution and afterward. So I've established that what I'm going to argue here and the evidence I'm going to provide talks about this idea of an American identity that's separated from Britain. So let's see if I can prove it with some outside evidence. That's our portion in green. I say the initial government formed under the Articles of Confederation of 1777 created a loose confederation of states. The Articles, however, proved too weak a document to create homogeny and national strength amongst the colonies. Nonetheless, it was a crucial stepping stone towards a strong national government and would form the basis of future political debate between federalism and state rights advocates. So here, my two pieces of outside evidence are the Articles of Confederation and this discussion of federalism versus state rights, and this new idea that started to prevail in American political thought, which created an American identity within them. Okay, now we're on to the subject of our discussion today, and that is how to incorporate evidence from the document into the essay itself, into your body paragraphs. So let's first take a look at the fact that I've used only one document here, and you'll notice in red that's quite a lot of writing, but I've also capped it. So we're gonna take a look at this. I'm gonna read it first, and then come back and talk a little bit about what I did here. So I begin by saying that the Virginia House of Burgesses, the oldest governing body in the colonies, went so far as to pass a resolution to complain about taxation without representation to Parliament, Document 2. They had been, up until that point, the governing body responsible for taxation. They believed the new legislation violated their charter with the Crown and wished to pressure the Parliament to rescind the law. This action, and their open letter to Parliament and the Crown, demonstrates a clear inclination towards self-government independent from British control. Its sentiment, ideas, and leadership would stand as an example to members of the Continental Congress and the drafters of the Articles of Confederation of a clear American governmental identity. So what you'll see here is I never quote the House of Burgesses, the speech at the Virginia House of Burgesses, the open letter. I don't even reference it much other than explaining what it is. But this piece of evidence here supports my argument. It's not so much about the document itself. It's about how the document might support your claim. So if you read this essay and you wanted to look and find things that would support it, you could find this document and use it as a piece of evidence to support it. It's not about explaining it as much as it is about using it. So in this instance, I cap it. I talk about what I contextualize it by talking about what the Virginia House of Burgesses was. The audience I explain is Parliament and the Crown. I talk about its point of view, saying that they had been an independent legislature for the most part their entire existence, and their entire purpose, which is to convince them, meaning the Parliament, to rescind these laws and leave legislative responsibilities with the House of Burgesses. I then go on to tie it to my argument of how this proves that Americans felt like they wanted to be more independent. And that is in that last sentiment, or that last sentence, which begins its sentiment. Remember, you always have to tie the document back to your argument, to your claim, and to your reasoning. I would wait till that last sentence. It just ties it up in a nice little bow and shows the College Board that you can use evidence to support your reasoning and that you see a larger picture here. You're not just quoting things or dropping in documents, that you can tie it back to your argument. So this is quite a long explanation, but it's an important one. I cap the document, I throw in some evidence from the document, but I use the document as evidence to support my point. That's the most important thing. The last portion of body paragraph 3 is my opportunity to modify, to change, to refute or to the argument, or to give or to kind of draw a connection between this period of time and another period of time in American history. And I've decided to make a connection this time, different from my other two body paragraphs. So let's get to it, and I'll explain what I did here. So I write, the American identity and individualism would continue to take shape as Americans called for an even stronger national government under the Constitution of 1787, the Bill of Rights, and other amendments, creating a pattern of re-identification within our system of government. In this way, America is unique in its drive for constant reinvention as ideas of what can make our country successful and free continue to change. So, here, I allude to things outside of the period. 1787 is not within the context of the question. I should not be talking about the Constitution, but I allude to it. I make that connection to it, saying that these ideas of independence are what allowed us to create the Constitution. This living document, that's document that changes based on our ideas as Americans. So in this way, I make a connection. It supports my argument. It just supports it kind of outside of the period of time, and I believe I would get that point here in this last portion of the body paragraph, the third body paragraph. Lastly, I promise I'd talk about the conclusion. Again, this is not required, but I write, you'll notice it's just two sentences. I say, from 1763 to 1783, Americans, for the most part, saw in themselves an opportunity to revolutionize self-government based on their experiences under colonial rule of Great Britain and their victory in the Revolutionary War. That is a restatement of my thesis. These experiences would form the basis of our democracy. There it is. That's the discussion. This whole time of American independence forms the foundation of our democracy. That's all I really need to say there. Again, it's a very, very quick conclusion. You don't really need a lot of detail, and only if you have time. But restating the thesis, just to bring it home, to rephrase it in a different way, to give kind of a new twist to it, would probably do you some good. So there you have it, an entire DBQ. So there you have it. It's as easy as that. I hope, again, that this proved useful to you. If you have any questions, please reach out to me and ask. And if not, just hold off for our Zoom meeting come Friday at 1. You can ask questions for the good of the group. But I hope your studying is going well and that this proved useful to you. So until then, stay safe, stay healthy, stay smart, stay smiling. And I'm going to go back to Thomas Jefferson and learning.